Today, we're diving into something that affects all of us, school. But we're looking at how technology is completely rewriting the rules. You know, the classroom you probably remember, it might just be becoming a thing of the past. So let's get into it.
First up, just a quick question for you. Have you ever heard the term GG? If you're a gamer, you know it instantly. It means good game. It's a simple two-letter sign of respect, and it's a perfect example of how technology doesn't just give us new gadgets. It creates whole new cultures, new languages even.
And that really brings us to the big question. If technology can build these brand new worlds with their own unique rules and ways of speaking, what in the world happens when that same powerful force is pointed directly at education? The answer, as you'll see, is a lot more complex than just sticking a computer on every desk.
Okay, so to really understand where all this is heading, we need to make sure we're on the same page. Let's start by redefining some of the basics, starting with that huge word, technology.
You know, you might be surprised to hear that the classical definition of technology has absolutely nothing to do with microchips or software. It actually comes from the Greek technologia, which means the study of craft. At its very core, technology has always been about the clever systems and tools we invent to solve our problems and just make life better. It really proves that old saying, right? Necessity is the mother of invention.
And in education, this idea is so important. Technology isn't just about the gadgets themselves. It's the bridge. It's what connects all the latest research about how our brains learn with what a teacher actually does day to day in a real classroom. It's what makes theory become a reality for students.
All right, so in this next part, let's get a bit more specific. Let's look at the actual digital toolkit that's reshaping our schools right now. We're talking about something called Information and Communication Technology, or as you'll hear a lot, ICT.
I really love this definition from UNESCO because it's all about action. See, ICT isn't just a noun. It's a thing that lets people do stuff. It gives teachers and students the power to create, to share, to connect, and to reflect. Honestly, those four verbs, they're everything. In fact, if you really dig into all the different ways academics define ICT, you'll find they all kind of boil down to these four main jobs. It doesn't matter if we're talking about a smartphone or a huge, complex learning platform. The mission is always about how we handle information, how we gather it, how we store it, how we share it, and how we send it out.
So what you're looking at here is the modern educational ecosystem. It's not just one thing, like a laptop. It's this whole interconnected network. The hardware, your device, needs software to run. That software pulls data from the cloud, and the whole thing is powered by internet access. All 6 of these pieces have to work together perfectly to make digital learning actually happen.
Okay, so we've got the tools, but here's the thing. Tools are only ever as good as the people using them, right? This next section is all about that, the human side. We're going to look at how ICT is creating brand new roles and new rules for teachers and for students.
So first, let's talk about the teacher. That old school idea of a teacher standing at a podium, just delivering information for an hour straight, well, that model is basically becoming obsolete. The job description is changing, and it's changing fast.
A teacher today has to wear a ton of different hats. They're not just a lecturer anymore. They're a facilitator, helping students figure things out in groups. They're a guide, pointing them toward reliable information. They're a trainer for new tools. And this is a really important one, they have to be a constant learner themselves just to keep up with everything.
Now, let's flip the coin. If the teacher's role is changing that dramatically, then it only makes sense that the student's role has to change too. Students aren't just these passive buckets anymore, waiting for someone to pour knowledge into their heads.
Technology completely shifts the learning process. It makes learning active, where students are actually creating things and messing around with the content. It becomes collaborative, with kids working on group projects online. You get constant interaction and feedback, and maybe best of all, it helps connect what's being taught in the classroom to what's actually happening in the real world.
So far, this all sounds pretty amazing, I know, but it's not some perfect digital utopia. In our last section, we really have to look at both sides of the coin, the incredible promise of educational tech and the very real pitfalls.
The promise is, well, it's immense. I mean, when these tools are used the right way, they can spark independent learning and amazing collaboration. They can literally break down the walls of the classroom, connecting students with people and resources all over the globe. All of this can boost motivation and, most importantly, enhance those higher-order thinking skills. We're talking about the ability to analyze and create, not just memorize facts.
But, and this is a big but, here's the reality check. Relying too much on technology can actually make critical thinking weaker.
Students might just download information without ever really understanding it. There are, of course, endless digital distractions, the risk of plagiarism goes up, and maybe the biggest hurdle of them all, teachers who haven't had the right training or who just don't feel confident using these new tools.
And that really brings us to the final and I think the most important thought here. As we keep weaving these powerful tools into our schools, the real question isn't about which app is the best or which tablet we should buy. It's about the purpose behind all of it. The focus shouldn't be on the tools we're using, but on the kind of thinkers we're building for the future.